UFC 323 is around the corner as the last pay-per-view of the year is about to embark. We speak about the fights made for UFC 324 and 325 and Tom Aspinall's eye injury update as well. People, it's the Professor, it's the Sandman, it's MMA from London to LA. Sit back, relax. Let's get into it. All right, Colin, first and foremost, how you doing, bro?
Doing great, bro. Always glad to work with you, Callum. We are together, the Professor and the Sandman.
The Sandman, indeed. Right, we're gonna start with a topic that's a bit sad, bit annoying, and that is Tom Aspinall. He's finally broken his silence after his fight with Cyril Gane was deemed a no contest because of a eye poke or several eye pokes, and he's been sort of ridiculed and lambasted and abused by not just fighters but fan base as well. I mean, Dana White said that he didn't want to continue, and Tom's really annoyed. He said that Cyril Gane's a massive cheater. Said he's annoyed with Dana White's comments and said that he'll just be dealing with Hunter Campbell personally going forward as well. Still no return date. He's still not legally able to drive. Still can't really see out the eye. Still got swelling in the tendons in the eye. Colin, what do you make of this whole situation and the landscape of the heavyweight division now?
It's a mess, man. It's very unfortunate. Like, you know what I mean? Aspinall, I just, a year ago, if we would have known that that the fights he wanted to have was John Jones and Cyril Gane, we would have felt he goes through Cyril Gane with maybe a little bit of trouble. Everything goes fine. He submits him probably in the third round or whichever. And we would have assumed maybe a year ago that Jones takes the fight and perhaps Aspinall beats him. So we would have thought at the end of this year, that is 2025, that Tom Aspinall would be at the top of the game and the height of his fame and success.
Yeah.
Right. And it's indeed not that. And not only that, but what, Dana doesn't even want to deal with him, I guess, because Dana thought maybe his eyes weren't hurt. I don't know. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
It's, as you guys in England would say, a bloody disaster.
Yeah.
I would say is probably what the Aspinall family is feeling. I don't know. I mean, why would a tough guy like Tom Aspinall want to feign injury, if he isn't injured? And I don't know. It's just, to me, it's very odd. Tom seems like a really solid, good guy. And I think that, that I don't know. You know what I sometimes think? That I think like big executives, Dana White and people of a similar ilk, although I think he's in kind of a league of his own as far as how well known he is and the money he makes as a promoter. But a lot of times the promoters, I think, almost like lose track that for them, as long as the show is exciting, then they're happy. Yeah. It doesn't matter who wins. I remember I always used to think it was odd how promoters are so excited about whoever wins, and they're there talking to them and building them up. And I remember thinking, it's so fickle. You know what I mean? It's almost like they genuinely don't care who wins, but if you win, they love you. And if you lose, then they can't be bothered by you, as you guys say in England. Yeah. And I think that Dana would have rather had Aspinall go on in that fight, not be able to see anything, have Aspinall knock him out, and then he thinks, and then as far as Dana and the UFC is concerned, that would have been brilliant. Yeah. Who cares about Tom Aspinall? The card would have been exciting, and the new champion is gone, and Aspinall cooperated and was willing to fight, not being able to see anything. But I don't think any fans, I don't even think any media people would agree with that. And so I don't see why Tom is such a villain. He certainly has some bad luck, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's been times in the UFC where I think where situations would happen, there could have been a real marker put down so that it eradicates the issue. And I think this was one of them. Tom Aspinall is someone who was fouled illegally more than once in the fight. And he's come out the back of this looking like the villain. And Cyril Gane's got away with this scot-free. They should have, in my opinion, made an example out of this situation. This is the heavyweight championship fight. And it ends in a no contest because, one, the gloves aren't if the gloves aren't good enough to stop eye pokes, and two, someone is extending their hands like in an illegal fashion.
Yeah.
Instead of the MMA community coming together and actually, you know, pushing for change, they've just put it all on Tom Aspinall. I've seen fighters doing it. I'm like, of all people to get Tom Aspinall here, fighters, and this whole tough guy thing. If Tom Aspinall, who couldn't see in the fight, continued the fight and got knocked out, everyone's saying how stupid he is. Why did he continue? He doesn't continue the fight, and everyone's saying, oh, he's not a real champion. He's a paper champion. He was getting beaten anyway. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think Dana in the UFC should have done something better about this. And I can understand his frustration.
Yeah, I can too. It's a very unfortunate situation, and especially the fact that Jones refuses to fight him.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing that I think is fair is if Jones refuses to fight Aspinall, they shouldn't let him fight anybody. You know,
we know, but we know it's going to. So that's the next bit I was going to lead on to.
Okay.
Do you think there's a chance that we see an interim heavyweight title fight with Cyril Gane and someone else, or do you think Jones potentially fights Alex Pereira for the interim belt?
You know, and it's interesting because I could see that. I'm sure Gane wouldn't be that happy because Pereira has 0 wins at heavyweight.
Yeah.
I know what it probably won't be. It probably won't be Gane and Pereira. That we pretty much know. I don't think it'll be. You know what? If that comes in, and Jones gets that fight, what's going on now with the feed? Sorry. Okay. If Jones gets that fight, then
it's a travesty.
It is a travesty, but it'll just mean that Jones continues to get what he wants year in and year out for 15 straight years. And I think I think it would be annoying. Unless perhaps if Alex knocks Jones out, which would be fun. But I think Jones would stay away, get him on the ground and beat him, and then when they say, great, you're the champion again, Jones, now your first defense is against Tom Aspinall, then he retires again.
He walks away,
Yeah. So that's my thought. I don't know, though. I could see them possibly doing it. I genuinely, I don't know. I don't know what to think, but I hopefully we'll find out in the next couple months. I just, I really hope that that Tom is his eyes heal up soon, because he's a great fighter, and I don't think he deserves any of this. And he wanted to fight Jones. Ironic, Jones is known for poking eyes a lot as well. Interesting, right? Yeah. So we don't know that what the case would have been if Jones was in there instead of a Gane. He might have got poked worse. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. We'd love to see what happens and how this situation unfolds. Speaking of title fights and not necessarily getting deserved title fights, Justin Gaethje will be going up against Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight championship. Ilia Topuria came out and said that he won't be fighting anytime soon because he's got some personal matters to attend to.
Yes.
Paddy Pimblett's from England. I live in England. He's a Liverpool supporter. I'm also a Liverpool supporter. So I always want Paddy to do well. But if I'm just going to be unbiased in this situation, I think it's absolutely crazy that Gaethje, after fighting Fiziev on short notice, who was ranked number 12 or 13 at the time, and Paddy Pimblett, who fought and beat Michael Chandler, who's currently ranked number 11 in the division, if I'm not mistaken. and hasn't beaten anyone in the top 10, is getting a title shot with each other, I think is crazy, especially with Arman being left out of the picture, considering his last fight against Dan Hooker. I'd even go as far as saying Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira have more of a right to fight for the interim belt than the other two. However, the fight's been made, going to be the first main event on the Paramount era. Your thoughts on the fight and the matchmaking here, Colin?
Well, it is unusual. I like Justin Gaethje. I've interviewed him twice. He's a really good guy, just a
Yeah.
solid good guy. Great entertaining fighter. He goes for it all the time. He's had some losses. He's had some good wins. He's getting a bit older, and he was at one point the interim lightweight champion for a short
Yeah.
while. And it would be interesting to see that that this would be for the actual titles. It would be really cool to see him
No,
win
this is
that.
for this is for
Oh,
interim as
it's
well.
for interim as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if he
So
wins, he'd be the first two-time interim
two-time
champion.
interim champion. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's something. Um, but yeah, is he next in line? No, Armand for sure is. And then Paddy, everyone's favorite Scouser from Liverpool,
Yeah.
right? And it's an interesting fight. I mean, Gaethje and Chandler had a barn burner. They fought back and forth,
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas Paddy pretty much just finessed Chandler.
Yeah.
So by that line of thinking, he maybe could do the same to Gaethje, but I think Gaethje may be a little bit more of a sophisticated fighter than Chandler. Not only that, he saw what Paddy did to Chandler, and he probably picked up some things in his team. Probably will help him maybe to do some things that could counter what Paddy did to Chandler. But yeah, neither of them, super deserving of this fight. It definitely would be an Arman Sarukian and probably a couple other guys. Maybe Charles Oliveira. You said Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway. Yeah. So I guess either they were all not available, or for whatever reasons, matchmakers didn't want to get a loss on either one of them. What I find interesting is I'm curious what the odds are. I haven't looked at the odds in this yet. And what is your thought going into this? Do you think Paddy, the baddie, has a solid shot here? It would seem like he would.
I actually think it's a 50-50 fight. I think Gaethje has the power to rock and stop Paddy Pimblett, and Paddy does leave his chin up in the air and does get hit. However, I think Paddy Pimblett's ground game and his ability to use his distance and reach could be all sorts of problem for Gaethje. And we've seen Gaethje get submitted by Khabib and Charles Oliveira. Paddy's very, very dominant when he's on the ground, whether it be through ground strikes or submissions. I think it's your traditional who is able to get their offense going. If Gaethje is able to keep the fight standing, I do fear for Paddy. If Paddy is able to get the fight to the ground, then I think Paddy nicks it. But for me, it's a 50-50 fight. I'd assume Paddy's the underdog. But given Justin's been in so many wars and his age, and I think now's the right time. And if I'm going to be honest, Paddy Pimblett's career has been navigated pretty brilliantly by the UFC, almost like akin to a boxer's career. They've really padded his career quite nicely. So if he can get through this and then get a title shot after it, the UFC have done their job, you'd almost assume.
Yes, well, he is indeed the baddie, and we'll just see if the baddie is going to be bad enough, good enough, tough enough to beat, Mr. Highlight Reel himself, Justin Gaethje. But I'm, while neither of them are the ones deserving of the title fight compared to some of these other gentlemen we've just mentioned, I'm still excited to see the fight. To be kind of intrigued by it and see what happens. And I've interviewed Gaethje a couple of times. As I said, he's a great guy, so I'm cheering for him. I'm sure you're cheering more for Paddy. But either way, may the best man win, as the saying goes. Yep.
Indeed. Also announced for 325, Volkanovski will be returning and taking on Diego Lopez for the second time for the undisputed 145-pound belt. Again, you look at Lerone Murphy, for example, who just got an amazing win over Aaron Pico. Mozart Evloev, who's undefeated as well. Diego Lopez is coming off the back of one win against John Silver, and John Silver, I think, was ranked just outside the top 10 or just inside the top 10 at the time of them fighting as well. I don't know if we need to see this fight again and see it so soon. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Yeah, I kind of agree on that. Although the first fight was pretty good, I think Lopez is several years younger, and so I think
Yeah.
he's still going up, ascending. Whereas I think Volk, and I love Volk, but I think he's got to be slowing down a little bit, even though he looked great.
Yeah.
I think it's a good fight. I think that Volk is still brilliant. I'm cheering for Volk. I love Volk, but Lopez I think is going to make this one even closer, and will be even more prepared for this fight. So it's a good fight. Yeah, could it have been the other guys you mentioned? And would I've just been just as happy? Yeah, I would have. So again, yeah, probably not the most deserving of all the opponents,
Yeah.
but certainly a solid guy with a really good record in the UFC, and I think right in his prime is Diego Lopez.
I was going to say a lot of rumors are suggesting that this will be Volkanovski's last fight. If so, where do you have him legacy wise? Do you have him at the top of the featherweights or in amongst it? Where would you sit Volkanovski at that table?
In the featherweight. Well, I see
Yeah.
him being given the highest consideration to be the new spokesman for Vegemite.
Yeah.
That I see,
He's a
and I'll tell you,
pretty good cook as well, Volk is.
he is. That's true. So he might really, want to put some formulas together with Vegemite, and then,
Yeah.
I don't know. I love that Vegemite, but I think that where would he stand on best featherweights ever if we'd be the best? Very possibly. I mean, Jose Aldo is in the conversation, of course. Um, uh, and who really, who else? I mean, Holloway, of course. Yeah,
Holloway, yeah.
Holloway, Volk, and Jose Aldo, probably three best UFC featherweights. And so with another win over Lopez, yeah, you know, yeah, I wouldn't be against him being considered the GOAT of featherweights, but certainly he's on the so-called Mount Rushmore. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely on the Mount Rushmore. I don't think there's any question there. Whether he's a GOAT or not, I think maybe we'll see when he fights Lopez. If he gets through that, then I think it might end the argument, to be honest. But as of right now, I think there's still a debate, regardless of who some people have at the top or not. But I do think this division needs a bit of fresh blood. I'd have liked to have seen a new challenger for Volkanovski, but again, it feels as though the UFC and the Paramount era are going with more entertainment as opposed to meritocracy at the moment. But I'm hoping there is a balance that is reached there, because you don't want to lose the essence of the sport, which is the best fight the best, and we're missing out on some of that, in my opinion, at the moment.
Yeah. So I agree. There is meritocracy, but there's also aristocracy, and that
Yeah.
makes me think of Sir Callum Sanderson, aka the Sandman. How quickly could you get down to 145 pounds, which is what,
Oof.
68 kilos? That would be
I
not probably happening in this lifetime, or
I'd have to be so regimented. It
that would be it'd be rough.
yeah, that'd be a
Possible.
horrible.
Yeah, it would
What
be.
what is that? I'm trying to think. What is 145 pounds in
I think
stone?
it's like something like maybe 68 kilos or something, or 70, less than
145
70
pounds in stones.
in stones. So
10, oh,
9
10
stone,
stone.
9 stone.
Yeah, I'd get to it, but I'd look like I'm on death's door.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be bad. It'd be
It'd be
bad.
really bad.
Yep. You would
It'd be
not
really
be able to have any bangers and mash, any bubbles
no.
and squeak. There'd be no fish and chips. There'd be no steak and kidney
Yeah,
pie, no custard, any sort of delicious food. You'd be probably having protein drinks and egg white with
yeah.
right.
It
Yeah.
would be. I'd go on a limb and say if I was to fight at any weight, maybe 55. Well, let me see
Right.
what 55 would be. 55 or 70.
All right. What do you think?
55. What is that in stone? 55.
10 stone plus, I think.
That's 11 stone.
11, so yeah, that'd be still
Yeah.
rough. That'd be still a rough one. But you
170 would be closer to
where you
my
could do it.
walk around there. Would be
Yeah,
close to a walk around weight. But
makes sense. But everyone else is cutting. So if you
I was
fight
gonna
your
say,
walk
yeah,
around
so
weight, yeah, yeah,
I'd probably have to be forced to fight at 55, which would be a
yes.
horrible cut.
That would be rough. That would be rough. And as for me, I'm past that age, but I would have to
It
fight it.
puts it into perspective though
Yeah.
because when you look at these guys when they're out of weight cutting and how big these guys are,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
they're not walking around like bloated or anything. These guys are
No.
still pretty shredded and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's scary what they're having to do to get to weights.
It is. It really is. It's tough. It's dangerous, and it's not healthy. But people just don't want to be at a disadvantage in size in a
Yeah,
fight. You can't. If you're going to let someone else be the weight bully, you can cry all night
yeah,
about having been beaten by a weight bully. But then
yeah,
apparently you should have come in as the weight bully equally.
yeah.
So
Completely agree.
unfortunate. Definitely, an issue.
Speaking of weight cuts, someone who will be doing their fourth weight cut of the calendar year is Marab Davalishvili as he takes on Petr Yan for his fourth title defense of the year, which is crazy. Started all the way back in January against Nurmagomedov, then fought against Sean O'Malley, then Sanhagen, and now is fighting Petr Yan for the second time. Going to start on the main card of UFC 323, and we'll start with the opening bout, which is Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. How are you seeing this fight going? Because I think Jan Blachowicz is probably one of the most difficult fighters to go up against in this division. And he's been on the wrong end of a couple of split decisions where had they gone another way, the whole landscape of this division could be really different right now.
I agree. Blachowicz had a couple of fights that I felt he could have won very well, and they
Yeah,
didn't give him the decision. But he needs this win. He's 42 years old. It's good that he is at light heavyweight. Would be better if he was even at heavyweight, at
yeah,
least age-wise. But at least he is in the second heaviest weight division. Bogdan Guskov is a cool guy. I talked to him after three. I even forgot the one I was in January 311, I think it was, and he's on a good 4-fight win streak, beating Zach Pauga, Ryan Spann, Billy Ella. Elikana and Nikita Krylov, all by submissions. Sorry, all by finishes in
yeah,
either the first or second round. So he should win this fight. Guskov should. 9 years younger, similar stature, but Blachowicz is indeed very crafty, or crofty, as you guys would say
yes,
in England, and should be a good fight. But a lot of pressure on both of them. This would really derail Guskov. Although at 33, he's got some time to
yeah,
recover, but it would set him back tremendously. And Guskov at 40, and then Blachowicz at 42 is a legend, but it's just hard to imagine he will have enough left to overcome Guskov. But checking into it with his last couple of fights being March 22nd of this year against Olberg, and then July 29th of 2 years earlier. Wow! So he's had only one fight in the last 2.5 years.
yeah. Very
It's hard to say.
very
Yeah, I think
inconsistent.
Sorry, yeah, but yeah. I'll throw it back to you, so we don't want to kill too much time on the prelims. But sorry, not prelims, but on the
Yeah.
lower on the main card. But yeah, I gotta go Guskov here. Although it'd be good to see the older guy do well.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if Blachowicz got it done. I just think he's so awkward to fight, and he doesn't give many holes in his game. I think Glover's had the most success against him in recent years. But you think back to the Alex Pereira fight, when you look what Alex Pereira has done to everyone else in the division. Alex Pereira arguably lost that fight against Jan Blachowicz, and then Carlos
Yeah,
Olberg's now
I
the
thought he
number
did.
one contender, and he arguably
Yeah,
lost
I
the
thought.
fight as well. So.
Yeah, Blachowicz could have been given both wins, and then he'd be just killing it. He probably would have fought 6 months ago or 4 months ago
Yeah,
for another fight.
exactly.
But yeah, he could. You know what? Go Blachowicz. I always cheer for the older
Yeah,
fighters, and
yeah,
he's in this fight. But I think this should be a good one, though. I think he's going to go for it.
indeed.
But yeah, the younger fighters seem to be winning 80% of the time, though, in these passing the torch fights. But should be exciting.
Speaking of passing the torch, Henry Cejudo will be taking on Peyton Talbot in his last fight. Henry officially retiring this time after his first retirement, where he returned to a title shot. This time he's going up against Peyton Talbot, who is 10-1, has been finishing people, but in his last 2 fights, he's 1-1, losing to a ground assault and then winning his last
Lost
fight.
him. Jaime Barcelos, right, and then beating Lima. Yep. Yeah. Sorry,
If
what do you
Henry,
think?
I'm guessing if Henry comes in anywhere near his peak, or anywhere near his top form, he should win this quite comfortably, given Peyton isn't the greatest on the ground from what we've seen.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Cejudo is 38, and for a lighter weight fighter, that is old. But he's
Yeah.
such a legend, and he's so talented. And the guys he's lost to, of course, all beat Peyton. All would beat Peyton Talbot. All respect there to Peyton
Yeah.
Talbot. Aljamain Sterling, Merab Dvalishvili, and then probably Song Yudong beat Talbot. So yeah, I think Cejudo is live in here. The man, the myth, the triple C as they call him.
Triple
But
C indeed.
Talbot's a good opportunity for Talbot though, and
Yeah.
Talbot is how old? He is 30. Where is he?
I, I don't
30,
think he's even
27.
good.
No, you're
Yeah,
right.
he's very
27,
still young.
11-year difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Young man, just about to begin his prime, much
Yeah.
taller. Only had that loss against Raoni Barcelos, and that was at 311, the one I covered in person. And
Yeah.
Raoni's a cool dude, good sense of humor. Doesn't speak English much, but through translators, and he's a cool dude. But yeah, Talbot's in this, but I think Cejudo can win this fight.
Yeah, I hear that. In the featured bout of the night, Brandon Moreno takes on Tatsu Taira. Recently coming to the UFC, Tatsu Taira and Brandon Moreno, a champion in this division. Brandon Moreno, he almost strikes me as what potentially Max Holloway was at 145 and Volkanovski was a champion. Brandon Moreno might end up continuing to take out some of these top talented fighters, which restricts Pantoja fighting as well. Or do you see Tatsu Taira causing an upset here, or do you think Brandon Moreno is just too skilled and will do what he needs to do to get the win?
I think Taira is tough here, but I think Moreno wins. I've interviewed him a couple times in person after fights. As everyone knows, super nice guy,
Yeah, I like
Brandon
Moreno.
And I actually felt he won a couple of fights that he was given the loss in. And so I think he'll be too much for Taira. I think it'll go to the ground. I think that's Taira's Achilles heel, if you will. Although I'm sure he's practicing his ground skills for this fight. But Royval kind of fought Moreno pretty even, and then Royval did beat Taira, and I think Moreno is an even better fighter than Royval. And I think, but just by a split though. He just beat him by a split. Yeah, I don't know.
Tatsu Taira and Brandon and
Royval.
Brandon Royval was a brilliant fight. That was at the Apex. What a great fight that
was. Yep. Two
was that
Apex.
this year?
I believe so. Well, maybe. Well, let me see. Maybe it wasn't.
I want to say maybe the end of last year, maybe.
Yes, two Apex predators fighting at the Apex.
Yeah.
Let me see. That was last year, October 12th of last year.
That went really fast. Remember that fight like yesterday? That brilliant fight. Brilliant fight that was.
It really was a great fight. But yeah, I think Moreno, but I think it's going to be a real good fight. I'm very excited to see this fight.
And we move to the co-main event in the same division. Pantoja, will he continue his dominance, or will Joshua Van come through in, I think, his fourth fight in the UFC? Maybe slightly more, but he could be a new champion after his incredible fight with Brandon Royval. Can he dethrone the ever great and the continuously improving Pantoja?
I think he can. I've always been a little bit critical of Pantoja, but Pantoja is a really good fighter. In this fighter, you'll have the champ showing up in a limousine and the challenger showing up in a gray van, since his name is Van, right? So, but I think Van can win this. So will he? I don't know. I don't know that I bet a lot of money, but I think Van is live in this fight. A lot of times these fighters, are just not quite ready. At 24 years old, he's so young.
Yeah.
I usually in betting, I usually fade fighters that are under 26. It's gonna be a big ask. And 35-year-old fighter though is past his prime and at a lighter weight, the Cannibal. I think that Van's going to be okay. I think it's going to be a battle on the feet. feet as long as Pantoja's okay with that.
Yeah.
On the ground, he's better than Van, but Van is pretty good. And I think if Van can stop the takedowns, I think Van can win this. I'm going to go for the upset here and pick Joshua Van,
Wow.
but wouldn't bet a lot of money on it. But I think there's definitely value in the underdog Joshua Van here for the upset.
Interesting. And then finally, the main event, Merab going up against Piotr Yan for the second time. In the first fight, I think Merab broke the record for most takedown attempts in a fight at the time, which was 49 or something crazy like that. He beat Yan by unanimous decision, and it wasn't a close fight. Will this fight be close, or do you think Merab will just continue to show his dominance over this division?
Well, that was Yan's last loss, and since then he's got 3 in a row against Song Yadong, Davison Figueiredo, and Marcus McGee. And he is 32 years old. No mercy. The man from Omsk, Russia.
Did you say Yan's only 32 still?
32 years old. Yeah.
Wow, it feels like
younger.
He's been around for so long.
It does. Merab is what, 36, 35, 36?
Yeah.
Nope, 34. I think Merab wins this fight. I think Yan will make it a little bit more competitive, though. I really do. I think Yan's gonna be in there and train some grappling, and I don't think he wins over Merab, and I love Merab, so I'm cheering for Merab. But I do think that Yan has some moments that may surprise some people. Maybe even surprising Merab, and I think it'll be at least a somewhat competitive fight, at least for a bit. What do you think?
I don't think Yan can be any worse than he was in the first fight. However, what's great with Merab is Merab just seems to improve every single time. And I look at the rematch with Sean O'Malley, and he just completely dominated from start to finish, and he looked so much better in that fight than he did in the first one. I feel like Merab could be one of these fighters who he'll beat you the first time, but once he actually dissects you and he also watches the fight back and then figures you out in that cage, I don't know if you can beat him. He's just so good. But Yan, if anyone in the division can catch Merab, it is Yan. But if Merab's able to build up momentum and get into a rhythm, then I don't see anyone stopping him. In fact, the only person I would have seen stopping him, but their best friend is Aljamain Sterling at 135, and he's not there, and they're best friends, so they're never going to fight. So nope. I don't see anyone beating Merab at the moment.
I agree. He is the machine and a great champion, one of the best pound for pound, I think, out there in our sport in the UFC.
He is indeed. Well, Colin, we're going to, or should I say, Professor, we're going to wrap things up now. Tell the people where they can find you and how they can support you, and if you've got anything you want to tell the people about coming up.
Thank you, Callum. Always a pleasure working with you. As I say, you are the man that has the wrestling of Cael Sanderson and the striking of Anderson Spider Silva, the brains of the greatest MMA coach brain, and great looking, charismatic, and well spoken. So it is always a treat. This man is the future of MMA commentary and interviewing. Don't you guys forget it. So I appreciate you, Callum. Yeah, you guys can find me. You're welcome. You guys can find me at MMA Journalist or MMA Journalist 1, Colin Crandall, COLINCRANDALL. I'm sure you see it up there, maybe not. But yeah, just look for me all over social media. I'm going to be trying to put out some more content here in 2026 than I did in 2025, and maybe even cover some events possibly, and hopefully we can make some things happen if they go to England again and get Callum over there, and we can put together some great coverage for you guys. So that's where I am, and always appreciate the follows on YouTube and on X and Facebook and Instagram. Most active out of those, I think, on X and then YouTube, but starting to be a little bit more on Facebook and Instagram.
Amazing. And guys, you can find us at the Sanderson Show. That is all one word on all platforms as well. Please, guys, do smash the like button on here. Subscribe to both channels. This will be on both channels. Subscribe to both channels. And let us know your predictions in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts on Tom Aspinall. And also let us know your thoughts on the matchmaking for UFC 324 and 325. This has been another episode of MMA from London to LA. I am the Sandman. He is the Professor. and we will see you again next week. Thank you all for watching and listening. Take care, everyone.
Peace.